Hello, everyone, and welcome to game one of Scrabblemania 3.0. On your screens, we have Fumba going against Benjamin, and I'm super excited for this matchup. All right, in the first move, we had Fombe play PAX from a rack of DLGS PAX. And in reply, Benjamin, wasting no time, playing Waxy for a number of points. And here we're seeing Fomba drop just the J, leaving a pretty solid leave of DLGASE, and it's back to Benjamin. We are seeing the first blank of the game, and he has EFONDS blank. I'm sure he's looking to perhaps bingo on this turn, but with the conditioning of the board, I'm thinking it might be a bit difficult right now. For anyone just joining, we see Joseph Okiri in the chat saying Scrabblemania 3.0 is live. Yes, indeed. The last um the last event we had Scrabblemania 2.0 last year. Charles Tachi from Ghana won that, winning $1,000 last year. And here we have him again alongside a lot of top players competing for the championship this year. All right, we are seeing the first bingo of the game come down. Benjamin most likely playing offense in this turn. It's pretty risky, but considering the fact that there aren't a lot of options on this turn for him, floating that S out in space to the triple triple, he really can't do much about that right now. He just has to go for his highest move, playing offense, the first bingo of the game, and beat Fomba's rack. Would we be seeing a bingo reply here? All right, apologies for the brief break in transmission there, just sorting out some technical issues. So, Fumba on that move had Goldaes, and unfortunately, a bingo was missed on that turn to the floating N. In offense, he had Dongals available and even sloganed in that turn. Back to Benjamin now with a rack of Fiinaor. No bingos available on this turn, but he has pretty interesting options. You could play something like Franion through the N in offense, and that would shed off a lot of tiles. And um, perhaps he's thinking of something different. We're saying him play FOR, OK, JR, and WO, going for a couple of points there. The only downside to that move is he's leaving two eyes on his rack. In fact, three vowels to one consonant. And let's see what the bag has to offer after that move. Back to Fomba with a rack of Goanies. I'm seeing agonize on this turn, and that would easily play next to the P in packs. But perhaps there is something a bit more inspiring on this turn. Personally, I'm yet to say. Let's see what he comes up with. Meanwhile, for anyone just joining, this is Scrabblemania 3.0, and the motto for this year is claiming the diplomatic enclave. Um, we're seeing a lot of top players from, in fact, all around the world. We have a lot of Liberians playing, definitely, and we have Ghanaians, Sierra Leoneans, and even the Westpac chairman from Ireland playing in this tournament. All right, we're seeing Fumba come down with Agonize on this turn. It's a very, very, very risky move, but what more can he do on this turn? Floating the A out in space for not just a triple triple, but just any high scoring tiles that would really score a lot of points through that A. But we see him go for the move regardless, and one of the options he could have gone for instead is playing Ganoins through the same N in offense, and an anagram of that word is Anginos, which is the safest and scores the highest for 72 points. But perhaps those turns, or those moves rather, are evading him, and he's just playing it safe, going for agonize, playing it what is 100% sure of, regardless of the drawback. Back to Benjamin now with Paienes. His tiles look a bit inspiring for bingo options, but even with the new floaters in the last turn, there are none available right now. But there is a very sneaky 56 word play on this turn. Very, very sneaky. Aspine, fits beneath FOR and OF in offense. Hooking FAWSJARPYON and FE. Aspine scoring 56, leaving I. However, would he be fine with leaving the A float yeah, for like a triple triple or just any high scoring options for his opponent next turn? So I'm guessing he would be really fixated on uh blocking that floating A. And one of the moves that can tend to that would be playing Pane, just parallel to the left of Agonize. All right, joining me in the commentary booth, we have Lua or Motayo. Say hi, please.
Good morning, everyone. This is Okwelua Omotayo, and it's great to be here once again. And I'm very excited to commentate this lovely game all the way from Monrovia, Liberia. And good to talk with you again, Excel. How's the game been so far?
Yeah, welcome, me. Sorry. It's been, pretty interesting. We've seen the first bingo of the game come down from Benjamin and a couple of misses there for Fumba. But right now, the scores are 1-3-1 for Fumba to Benjamin's 160. And we saw Payne come down in the last move, and it's back to Fumba now, playing task for a whooping point there. All right, I think something worth considering in that turn perhaps could have been to, retain the T and play just ask instead, leaving IURT. But, maybe he just wants to go all out and play out as much tiles as he can. And it's back to Benjamin now, who has been having a bit of vowel trouble. We saw him keep two eyes now in two turns, and he has COATSII. And it seems like his next move is yet again going to retain the two eyes. I think that's pretty interesting choice there from Benjamin. Hopefully, it doesn't come back to bite him back. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. I've seen a couple of his rounds, and he has been retaining the two eyes. And also, I think it's interesting that I've seen the first blank of the game on Benjamin's rack. Now it's back to Fumba with UOIDUOR. What do you think he should play here?
All right, we're seeing him shed off as much tiles as he can, playing Durion through the N. I think that is an interesting choice with a rack of DURIOOU. There really isn't much you could, do on this turn. That doesn't score much. I think something worth considering could have been to just play EUOI through the E in offense, leaving OUDR, or perhaps just exchange. There are still a couple of tiles in the back that I'm sure you would like to have. There's the blank, there's the Q, the Z. Fine, all the S's have been played, but still playing Durian doesn't score well enough and it leaves OU. But I guess he's just trying to, play out as much tiles as he can and hope for the best. The scores after the Durian move would be Fumba's 183 to Benjamin's 212. It's about 40 points difference. I guess is really, really trying to gun for that blank or better tiles as much as he can. But this move, obstructs the floaters he could have needed to play through in the next turn if a bingo perchance were to, land on his rack. But it's back to Benjamin now with IIYEZR blank. All the tiles Fumba wishes he could have.
Definitely. I think it's Fomba's turn to play.
All right, in the last turn, we saw Benjamin play YER yet again, retaining two eyes, something he has done in the past four moves, I believe. Yeah, I'm guessing from his POV, he's thinking he doesn't have like much of a choice and all, but they were pretty interesting
Okay, I see
moves
he's
he could have
opting
made.
for correct QUARE for 51 points. That is a solid score and leaving GO. What do you think about that one, Excel?
All right, we apologize once again for the break in transmission there. All right. So what have we missed so far? We saw YR come down for Ben, and right after the Durian dump seems to have paid off for Fumba. We saw QUARE come down in that turn for a sizable score. And without wasting time, Benjamin replied back with ZT playing his own, high scoring tile in that move. And in the last turn just now, Fumba had ELLGERO, and he played FELL there, just dumping the duplicates. And it's back to Benjamin with a rack of VINCRT blank, playing parallel to the QUARE move, playing one of the newly added words INT in that turn. I think one move that was worth considering in that INT move would have been evict down the E in offense. And I think why that would be interesting is there are no S's left, and evict would set up, a very nice S hook at the bottom of the board, and he has the last blank, meaning it would be the only one with access to hooking evicts later on. But we've seen he's trying to, just play it safe and score as many points as he can. And it was back to Fombi now, playing HE quickly next, or beneath quotes. All right, would we be seeing a bingo on this turn? Benjamin with VATICR. Interestingly, to the L in fell, cultivar is available on this turn as a bingo for Benjamin. But with the scores being Benjamin's 312 to Fumba's 269, even missing that bingo, I think is still, in a very good position to maybe win this game. The board is pretty choked up right now. The left hand side of the board is nearly dead, if you ask me. And the only thing that Fumba could have been hoping for is the L hook in fell, or maybe hooking beneath fell, maybe fella or fells or something. But right now, the cultivar move from Benjamin would totally, be very devastating and would take his score or the margin a lot higher.
Okay, sorry about the break in
But we've seen
transmission.
him
I
play
believe
Clavi, and that really,
the
does everything he wants. It's blocking the fell hook and also still retaining his blank. So even without playing a bingo on that turn, this move, really does a lot of things he wants. And he maintains his lead. The scores now is Benjamin's 338 to Fumba's 269. And it's back to Fumba now with REEBODG. It's worth noting that Clavi takes the E hook, but maybe a move like BEG, hooking Clavi is worth considering. But as we all know, Benjamin has the last blank. And all right, we've seen GO come down, perhaps trying to open up the top left, because there's AGEN, and as we can see, has drawn to an A. So there is a spot there for a straight 7 if he has the right tiles. I think GO was pretty impressive there. And it even opens up, hooking the GO itself to maybe like GOD or GOE for a straight seven option there. So yeah, I think that was a very sneaky move, and yeah, let's see what happens from there. It's back to Benjamin now, and it's up to him to decide what he wants to do on this turn. But with that opening, we know for sure that he could even play something like routine hooking, sorry, was like Tordion or yeah, routine hooks GOE. The downside to these moves is most of them floats a T out in space for a triple triple. And even with this lead, a mistake of opening up a triple triple for your opponent could be very devastating. But we see him just plunk down QIN with the last blank on his rack and no S's. And I think is feeling pretty confident here, scoring just 12 points, but setting up his S. I'm very, very sure he saw his bingo options and where they could fit. But as I mentioned, opening up a triple triple or floaters for your opponents when you have a really solid lead is unnecessary. So yeah, Kane is I think a very interesting move. I would see what it does with that. It has BEHEARD, I believe. It has the A to hook AGEN, but um, right now it doesn't have any bingo that would fit. A really sneaky move though would be behaved through the E in offense and V in clavy, scoring 40 points, leaving ER. This move is, something that could maybe just bring him back into the game, because now he has scoring 40 points is good enough already, and also leaving the D as a floater maybe for next turn is also what considered behaved move. The board would be pretty open, such that even if Benjamin blocks the opening, then he still has the D ball. And I think he's going for Beard, BEARD. Yeah, this scores 36 points, still pretty close to 40, and it leaves EH. I'm curious as to why he didn't play and chose bed. Still, I think on this turn, OUTIVR blank is what Benjamin has. And would we be seeing a bingo of VOITURE on this turn, hooking GOE? Or would he be delaying his bingo one more time, trying to, close the board up as well as he can? All right, we are saying VOR played on this move once again, retaining his blank and scoring 31 points. It's back to Fumba now, and I believe he has UHLEBIT. All right, we're seeing go for NIT, maybe trying to condition that QIN opening, because right now the best Benjamin can do this, maybe just play ST, okay, canes and units. But we see that is the list of Benjamin's problem right now is going for N suit, EN blank. I believe the blank would be an S, okay, DE. And Suit scores 74 points, and it would take his lead to 455 to Fumba's 327. At this point, the tiles are out, and even with an out bingo from Fumba, the game is gone. But still, I believe Fumba has Humble with an I, and Humble scores 27 points beneath GO, okay, GOE. And that would be, one of just the best things he can do right now, since MEW would definitely finish. All right, I'm seeing some engagement here in the chat. One person asking who is the best African player today. I think that's subjective, but going by the last African Scrabble Championships, Timmy Doko was the winner in that championship and is the current, you know, um, winner of that title. Based off on that, you could say Timmy Doko from Nigeria is Africa's 001 right now. But still, others might argue that Wellington Jigeri, the only African player to have won the World Scrabble Championship, is perhaps Africa's number one. So it's pretty subjective, but based off on the championship, I think that title goes to Timi Doko from Nigeria. Okay, I think someone mentioned that for breath was possible. I think that was when the BARD move was made. But I think behaved and that things really, really interesting. All right, we're saying humble come down and the outplay of WEM rather. This was a pretty interesting matchup. We saw the first bingo come down from Benjamin Offense scoring 77 points, but then a couple of misses when Golds was played by Fumba. He had Dongals or slogan available for him on that turn. And in the agonized move, Ganoins or Anginos would have, scored a lot more. But still, both players played really, really well, and we saw a lot of quick plays and very precise ones too. This has been the first round of Scrabblemania 3.0 happening in Monrovia, Liberia. Next on will give an update of the players that we'll be having. Make sure you stick around because there is a lot of Scrabble to be played. 30 games in total over the course of 30 days. Today, 10 rounds are going to be played, and tomorrow we'll see 11 rounds played, and finally on Sunday, 9 rounds. And a lot of players from all over Africa and even the world are present in Monrovia right now playing this tournament. Top players like Jimo Abdulmumin from Nigeria and the Wespa chairman Owolabi Lukman from Ireland is in fact playing in this tournament. We also have Cyril, the Sika event winner in West Park that happened in Accra, Ghana, is also playing. We have Tachi Charles, the winner of the last edition of Scrabblemania from Ghana, also playing here. We have Olari Bigbe Akim from Nigeria too. Wesley Jonathan, the sixth highest rated player in Liberia right now in this tournament. Boyka Roland too from Liberia is here, the first highest rated player. We have Joseph too from Liberia, the highest rated in Liberia, and in fact the current national champion of Liberia playing here too. So this field is packed with a lot of impressive players and master players, and I'm sure we'll be seeing amazing games right here on stream. So make sure you stick around because there is still a lot more Scrabble to come your way.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
All right. Hey, Piper. Nice to have you here in the commentary booth.
All right. I apologize for the break in transmission. It's good to be here once again. All
All
right.
right. And the
Without
first
wasting.
move,
Okay.
Fred had Malloi blank, and I believe he missed bingos like Marriott in that. Sorry, Malot rather, Maillot, and he opts for mole rather.
Okay. Interesting. So Mo was committed from Fred, and I believe he has the first blank of the game.
Yeah, it's back to Abdulmumin Jimo, the highest rated player in this field, a really strong Nigerian Scrabble player. We also saw him do really well in the World Championships a few weeks ago.
Okay, so I
Same
believe
going for GAMP.
GAMP, yeah. Living PHN, I believe.
It's back to Fred now with BAINIY blank. I'm sure he's looking to play to maybe through the G in GAM for maybe a bingo there or the floating elves, but he has a 104 bingo play on this turn if you could spot it, and that would be Biryani, Biryani. That would be a triple, sorry, a double double hooking molly for 104.
That would score massively. I mean, hooking Y to M for Molly and playing Biryani for 104 on the double double spot is definitely his top choice here. But if in case he doesn't see that, playing the same word just by the side, hooking A to MOLL instead would score 79. I believe other bingos he could play on this turn would be Brainingly through the L of mole. Now, what do you think he's going to do here, Excel?
Yeah, we can see he has already played BAY, perhaps missing some of those bingos and just trying to go for as much points as he can see on this turn. But what a miss that was, 104 against the highest rated player in this tournament. Have been a really nice start. Well, it's back to Jimo now with HONTYPE. And I think this is a really interesting set of tiles to have. Usually, when I have this, I'm always thinking of maybe like words ending with phone or starting with phone, or maybe type TYPE. And we can see is running through those that same train of thoughts. You can also see him arrange HYP because there are a lot of words that also start with the HYP
Yes,
too. So it's
this
interesting to see
looks
what he
very,
would go with on this turn.
yeah, it looks very synergic, but I do not see any bingo he could play on this turn. But I believe he could cash in and play TOPHE. That is hooking the E to the AG and playing to the triple world score, I believe, for 46 points, leaving NY.
Yes, indeed, that would be a really nice spot there. 46 points and, pushing him back into the lead and leaving NY. And if you know me, Y is, one of my favorites that I also have because it's doubles as a consonant sometimes and a vowel sometimes. So it's really nice to, keep that Y later on. Maybe hooking YAG, I believe that is a word.
YAG, yeah, definitely. Okay, so we might be seeing Phony come down instead. Okay, I believe he has committed Phony instead for 36 points, leaving ET. Wow. All right, and it's back to Fred with I believe we should be seeing a bingo here. He has a rack of DEIVIN blank. Now, what do you think he should play here, Excel?
Yeah, first, it's worth noting that phony was played in the last turn, but it wasn't a phony. Perhaps any Scrabblers in the chat would get that joke. All right, so it's back to Fred here with Diivin. Personally, I really can't see a lot of options in this turn. Maybe I'm missing a bingo to the L, perhaps.
Through the P of phony, it could play vilipend. That is, in fact, is only playable bingo for this turn.
Wow, that would
Vilipend,
be a really nice find.
yeah, a
I
nice
can't
find.
say I've heard of that word before. Apologies for my chicken scratch there, but yeah, Villipen would fit in that nice little spot there for 78 points, but we can see he's going for something different.
Okay, I think he's playing Vide for 32 points instead. All right, I believe this is the second miss from Fred. But I mean, it still has the high hand blank combo, so he should or he would might be able to bingo in the following turn. And I see he has picked the QU combo, so we might be expecting a blow from him.
Yes, indeed. It's back to Gmo now with Fannert. I'm sure if I were in his shoes, I would be really fixated on that eye, thinking there could be a bingo there, but there are no bingos available for him on this turn. And we see him rightfully go for fan leaving TERN.
Okay, fan is in fact a top move, leaving a solid leave and scoring 28 points. All right, immediately
All
we see
right, we are
Quine coming
seeing
down. Fred,
yes. A really solid score. They're still leaving the blank but scoring really, really well.
definitely. Quine scores 49 points and leaving a very good leave.
But I'm curious, there is or there was an option available for him playing QUIFF for 72. The only downside is it would be using up his blank in that. Do you think Quiff was something worth considering?
I mean, it was able to play, I think, almost 50 points on this turn while still leaving his blank. I mean, it could definitely still cash in with a bingo next turn. That would definitely expand a score in two turns along the line. So I think in playing Quine, not
All right, well said. Quine scoring 49 points, I believe, still retaining the blank seemed like a good option there. And the moment Gmo now has a rack that left to me, I would probably spend a good 10 minutes racking and shuffling, looking for a bingo on this turn. But even with, I think this set of tiles are the most probable tiles. You have Notaire as a bingo option or terrain, but with the way the board is, there are no bingos available for him on this turn, even with the U floating, the L, even the PO and all that. There are no bingos whatsoever um, in this turn. So, what would he be doing here? A inexperienced player like myself would probably just plunk down the O somewhere, perhaps playing video, um, hooking HO, leaving retina, which is a stem that a lot of players like to have. And it could pay off, and it might not. Who knows? So I'm curious to see what Jimo would do with this set of tiles here. Would he be looking to play longer with options like HOHA, HOER? He could extend this further, scoring 23 points, but leaving a very dangerous opening here for Hoaz. So we'll see him just plunk down the O, leaving the retina leave that a lot of Scrabble players like to have. And it's back to Fred with WAILTS blank. Would we be seeing him eventually bingoing on this turn? Right now, he has a sneaky bingo available of Walliest through the L. Oh, for a moment there, I thought he had seen that move. Let me see if I could show the audience. WALLIEST fits here for um 85 solid points. And we can see he has arranged wheel in that same spot. Apologies for my doodling there. I know it's needs a lot of working on, and I'm sure I'll definitely get the hang of this in no time. All right, so Warriors would be an interesting or one of just the top move in this turn. But we see him missing that bingo, going for wheel instead. And to the U in Quine, he had lawsuits also available in that turn. But missing those bingos, we see him will, which still scores pretty well on this turn. And now it's back to Jimo. We saw him fish in the last turn with just plunking down the O, leaving the retina leave, and he picked an X with that. Um, Personally, I can't see any bingos for him on this turn. So would he be fishing off that X once more, leaving the retina stem or leaf, which can be very, very strong. Right now, the X plays for 17 points, and as you can see, that's exactly what he has done. He's staying patient, leaving the best house possible that he can have.
He could have played Walliest and it's not. But fortunately, I think he's eventually playing a bingo of 10 years. Okay, um,
All right, yeah, we saw Tania's come down. Finally, the bingo from Fred after a couple of misses, and it's back to Abdomomi Jimo. The fish seems to have helped as inertia is available to play on this turn. Okay, PNI.
Okay, I think I might have missed a turn after Will from Fred. I what did Mumin play?
Oh, you just dropped the X, scoring XI, leaving retina.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
And now inertia is available to be played. The only spot right now for is bingo. Inertia in that sport would score 67. I'm sure he has seen the bingo, perhaps not just the spot for it. I'm guessing PNI might, evade him, or perhaps he's not just thinking of that hook right now.
I think he might see it, but maybe he's probably wondering if he has any more options other than that. Wow, interesting. I
Oof.
think he missed that. We are seeing Intrada come through
Yeah,
instead. Wow, what a miss.
yeah, that's a surprising miss there from Abdul Mumin, but still is the scores are Fred's 225, I believe, to Mumin's 144. A bingo was very necessary in that turn for Jimo to still stay in the game. But right now, the difference is about 80 points, and there's still a lot of tiles to be played, and let's see what happens from here.
Okay, we might be seeing Ong come down quickly from Fred, and that has been committed for 30 points, I believe.
Yeah, we're seeing Fred here even after a couple of misses, eventually playing Tanias, and in an interesting turn of events, going into the bag, picking seven tiles. The blank or the last blank is on his tiles here, and I'm sure he's feeling pretty confident, especially with the scores right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this game did tilt towards Fred, considering he missed about three bingos earlier on and went into the bag and picked the first and the second blank, and is still scoring decently above 100, I believe, margin over Mumin. And I'm still quite serious to see how this game ends. Now with a rack of Zraeeio for Mumin. What are his options here, Excel?
Yeah, I was seeing him arranging notarize, trying to play out as much tiles as he can. Something he could have considered on that turn, which I'm sure he saw, was maybe moves like Zo, E, but the thing with that move is it gives back way too much to the right hand side after that move. And I'm sure he's trying to gun for the blank. And there are still three S's left and a lot of tiles still in the bag. So notarize, throwing the board wide open, leaving his options as plentiful as possible. So I'm sure he's pretty pleased with that move. All right, it's back to Fred now with WUGVLT. I'm sure he's not so happy seeing VW and G in the same set of tiles, and also with the U. I mean, VU is bad enough already, WU is bad enough already, VW is bad enough already. So, I mean, this is definitely not the best of tiles to have, but we're seeing trying to make as much lemonade from these lemons and playing glue. I'm sure the thinking behind this movie is just to shut down the board as much as he can. Find the VWT is nothing to write him about, but at least is obstructing that E hook which Jimo could use to, score loads of points.
Definitely. I think in playing glue right now is a defensive move considering the E is left wide open for the triple lane for his opponent to come back at him. And interestingly, with what Mumin is having, it goes for AUE, leaving NIAES.
All right, and without wasting time, VAWT comes just in the nick of time to shed off those clunky consonants. And Fred must be feeling pretty confident considering the fact that Mumin has been unable to score a lot of points in the past couple of moves. And VAWT scores really well, still retaining the blank.
I think it's interesting to note that VAWT is a phony.
Oof. Uh, I know of VAWTE, and I just simply assumed
Yeah.
that VAWT was valid too.
Are
But
we going to
seeing
be
that,
getting it?
the
Okay.
move
Okay. So it was
was
yes.
okay.
Now I opted for VAW instead
Yeah, I'm
at this
sure you would have
very.
really loved to play the VAWT there because of the triple T's he has. But you could have just opted for TAWT in that same spot.
Yeah, definitely. And interestingly, we see Bingo come down for Momin Erasure. Is this enough
Yeah,
to bring him?
finally, it's surprising to see for someone of Jimo's strength that it's taken perhaps the eighth move or the seventh move before a bingo comes down from him. A master player of his strengths, you always see them starting out with a lot of bingos at the start of the game, but we've seen that it's been a couple of difficult draws for Jimo, and eventually we are seeing Eurasian come down. Although it's worth noting that in that same spot he had inertia a few moves ago, but eventually Eurasian is coming down now.
Yeah, definitely. I think what you draw is does affect what you are able to play. I think aside the miss of inertia, he hasn't really missed much bingo in this turn. Now back to Fred. I think he had triple T's or four T's. TTTTIR blank. So he opted for TIT, and immediately we see Mumin come down quickly. I believe he placed the J on top of the O of eration.
All right, we are seeing the Mumin I know playing fast and playing precise and scoring a boatload of points there. Jukos, I believe, is what is playing there for 63 solid points.
Wow.
Right now, the
This game has
scores are Fred's 317 to Jimo's 322. In the blink of an eye, we are seeing Mumin take the lead in this game.
yeah, I think it's important to know that this with this move of Joko's, it has taken a very interesting turn and putting Mumin forward.
All right, back to Fred. We're seeing REDOTT if he can spot his bingos he would be taking back the lead immediately. Right now, he has grottoed, Grottoed, through the O in Jukos. Let me see if I can try and draw that for the viewers. So Grotto would be a really solid option here because it's shuts down the board as much as possible, and um, since it's actually his highest scoring bingo, scoring 70, and that would take his lead to about 60. So would he be able to spot this move? And if not, he has um, a couple of other options though. He has retorted down the R in notarize, which is considerably easier to see than grotto. I can say for a fact that anyone who plays grotto against me, I'm definitely going to challenge. So it's not a word I'm quite familiar with. So let's see if it would be able to spot any of those bingos. And even through the S in Jukos, he has dirtiest and Dottrels rather available, and even Tetrodes. Okay, has spotted the retorted move, and he would be seeing him take back the lead. Okay, seems to be changing his mind there. I'm curious to see what is considering on this turn. Maybe he has a feeling that is missing something a lot better, and he has the time. There's still 5 minutes, I believe, left on the clock for him, so he could take his time here and just look through the options. Abdul Mumin now, with the knowledge that Fred has the blank, I'm sure, yeah, he must be feeling some type of way, knowing that Fred is most likely going to take back the lead after this move. I think for a moment we saw Fred arrange grottoed, but unsure and just trying to play it as safe as possible, is back to deciding to play retorted. Okay, I think we the tiles on Jimo's rack are a bit skewed, but I believe he has Freeboe, and after the last move of retorted, there are three tiles left in the bag, and could there be any scheming or fishes that Abdul Mumin could make here to get back into this game? Right now, he's trailing by exactly 60 points. I'm unsure if Fred has committed this move. I think he's trying to be careful, or maybe the move was played and Jimo held that turn. So maybe we'll be seeing a challenge here, but we can confirm that provided that blank is the letter E, then this move is valid. All right. Fred is recording his calls and going into the bag. So I believe the move wasn't challenged, and it's back to Jimo now, trying to decide what he can do on this turn. Three tiles left on the bag, and he has Freeboe. At this point, um, I can't say there are a lot of options right now for Abdul Mumin. Maybe just playing OB. next to retorted. Let me see if I can show the viewers that move. OB here is something that maybe is worth considering, given the fact that you're opening up a spot here for a 7 letter bingo. But uh I mean, you're not going to make that move, and Fred is just going to leave it on the board without, trying to obstruct that spot. So I think it's a really difficult turn for Abdul Mumin right now, and maybe is thinking of beef. We can see him arranged beef on this turn, but with 3 tiles left in the bag, beef is going to exhaust all the tiles, and that just makes sure that Abdul Mumin can come back with a bingo to play in the next turn. So the best thing would be to maybe play 2 tiles, then leaving 1 tile in the bag, and that way Fred would have slightly incomplete information on what Abdul Mumin has after he tracks the tile. So you can see him set aside BE. I think maybe it's the same idea. Oh, sorry. Maybe it's the same idea playing BE here, considering the fact that there's the OB hook on this lane. So I'm sure he's looking towards that side of the board, and he knows for sure that if there's any points or any um, way coming back into this game, it has to be opening up something along that lane. And we can see him committing that move, leaving FEROE. And it's back to Fred now with DISCEIE. We apologize for some breaking transmission there. My co-commentator is having slight issues, and I'm sure we'll have that fixed as possible. So thank you so much for those who are still tuning in. And I'm sure before the start of the next game, we would have these issues resorted. So Fred has DIESCEI. I'm sure Jima would have loved to have that S or a couple of other tiles, but we can see the last S in this game is on Fred's rack. Right now, um, Fred could easily ignore the opening that Abdulmin made in the last turn. If it tracks the tiles correctly, it's going to see that there's DEEFKORR on scene, and as bingo friendly might look, I guess maybe with the ED combination, there isn't much for Fred to worry about on this turn, and he has a 37 points play available for him if he scores ICED at the at the bottom left corner of the board right here for 37 points. Maybe, this is even enough to outrun any bingo that comes down eventually at the right hand side of the board. So would Fred be desperate enough to want to block that opening that Mumin made in the last turn, or is just simply going to ignore it and go for his highest point here? All right, we are saying he's taking no chances and is going for dice. Yeah, I guess that is pretty understandable. Uh, Mumin, you can be pretty sure that if there is a bingo available on, considering the tiles left, then he's most likely going to see it. And we're seeing that Fred here doesn't want to take any chance and wants to block off that spot entirely since he's already leading, and sacrificing this points won't do that much harm. Although it's worth mentioning though that in a 30 round tournament, every score you can get matters. So even if you're leading and you're trying to squeeze out as much points as you can from that game, it could pay off eventually, as cumulative matters a lot when you're looking at the standings. But I guess it's a lot better than having an out bingo played and then you and totally lose the game. So dice comes down for 10 points, and Mumin now with Rorfeke. Okay, we're seeing him play Reek. But Keith was available also in that same spot, but that would give back way too much to the opponent. And we are seeing a very nice finish for Fred here with this cage. I think that was okay. That doesn't empty the bag. The that doesn't end the game because there's still an E left. So this cage was actually a nice find regardless. And Froze was played by Abdulmumin there. And we're definitely going to see Fred end this game playing his E somewhere. Okay, ZE was played as the last move in this game, scoring 11 points. Interesting to see Abdulmumin take this loss here on stream, as he's arguably the strongest player in this tournament, as is the highest rated amongst this field. But it's Scrabble, anything can happen, and when the tiles come or if they don't come, there's really not a lot of things you can do about it. The final scores here is Fred's 427 to Jimo's 386. Make sure you stick around, as round three would be on your screen very soon.